Alrighty, how's it going, everyone? Thanks so much for tuning in, checking out this video here. I am super excited and honored to be chatting and hanging out with Serena, or Not She Networks, or all of the other fantastic, incredible handles that you're known out on the interwebs. It's awesome. I haven't seen you since, like, what, DEF CON? How are you? Who are you, for one thing? Can you intro yourself? And then we'll dive into, hey, what have you been up to these days?
Yeah, I'm good. Most people know me from TikTok. My handle there is She Networks, so a lot of people know me as She Networks. On Twitter, She Networks was taken, so I am not She Networks on Twitter. So that's the discrepancy there. I am known mainly, like I said, on TikTok for my networking content. I do a lot of security content and more like general tech news, things like that. I am a network engineer, but I recently quit my job to kind of make a little bit of a career change into security. So yeah, it's I haven't like really officially made that announcement yet. I know I think a lot of people know I quit my job, but I haven't announced the next big thing yet.
Cool. Well, hey, I hope you're totally cool with chatting and bantering about it here. If that's something you're
Yeah.
comfortable with. But I would love to dive into so many different things. For one thing, hey, TikTok, your content creative stuff. I'd love to dive into your career, right? Where you were, where you're going, what you're up to, etc. Would also love to chat about your interests and new stuff in security and what you're diving into, get more into that scene. But for one thing, we haven't seen each other since DEF CON.
Mhm.
And I know, hey, if you're trying to pivot into security now, are there any other super cool or awesome events or activities that you're trying to make yourself out to hang out with people, meet new folks, etc., network?
Yeah. So I think I am going to be at B-Side San Francisco in
Ooh,
June. Yeah, I'll be presenting on a panel there with some other TikTok creators, just talking about short form content and cybersecurity and different things like that. So, other than that, I don't have a lot planned. Just that one event and then starting my new job. We'll see what happens with that.
so you're telling me I have to fly out to San Francisco to go support you at the local B-sides, right?
Yes. Or I mean, I'm gonna try and go to DEF CON as well. Hopefully
Awesome.
that all works out. Yeah. So I should see you there.
Excellent, excellent. So you're pulling apart some cool stuff that I'd love to chat about because your panel that you're mentioning, chatting about creating content for both the network engineering side and for cybersecurity stuff. I would love to ask, hey, TikTok, and I know you chatted about this plenty of times before, but if I could just pick your brain again, like,
Mhm.
did you choose TikTok? Did it just seem like, hey, cool, natural thing to go ahead and post content on? Where did you see this thing take off? How did it take off? Can you kind of give me, hey, the lowdown on all that you're up to in content creating?
Yeah. So before TikTok, I really wasn't on social media too much. Like I had just a pretty generic Instagram account. I did have the Twitter account that I use now as Not She Networks, but admittedly, that Twitter account was a decoy. So when employers would look for my name, that account would come up and it just had some general text stuff on it. And then I had another account, which I haven't used in a few years. And so kind of during the lockdown, almost like everybody else, I downloaded TikTok and eventually found my way to Tech Talk, which is where all the technical content creators were posting videos. And at the time, there really wasn't many. There was just a handful of people making tech content. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I didn't know people would be interested in this content on TikTok, you know? And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll like, do a couple trends, post a couple funny tech related videos based off those trends. Um, and they just did really well. And from there, I was like, oh, I'll just keep, doing it. And I really liked it. There's that little like dopamine hits that you get when you start doing content creation. You're like, wow, like I'm getting likes and comments and followers, and I'm able to like interact with all these people. And it was fun just because, you're stuck inside and like you're bored and you don't have a lot of like social engagement. And so it was like a great way to kind of like build a little community and meet people and talk to people and have fun from my home. So, yeah.
I totally side with you there and absolutely know the dopamine hits. It's like, man, it's just fulfilling. It's just kind of cool putting stuff out there. And obviously, I have done like cheesy, stupid long form stuff on YouTube, and it's in TikTok, and I guess YouTube Shorts, as it's whatever YouTube equivalent, is still like an enigma to me. You have cracked the code, my friend, on getting that thing to, hey, have, for one thing, actionable and good, intelligent content and training in such a short 60-second span or around that time period. So kudos to you for one thing.
Thanks. Yeah.
I know you have dabbled with a little bit of YouTube, sort of, maybe, kind of. Were you thinking about that? Is that something that you would you recommend even just creating content to people with, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, so YouTube, that is coming. I had been struggling this past year with a lot of medical issues, which kind of made me just like not super excited about making content. And so then I was like, now I'm starting to feel a lot better, and I'm gonna have a lot more bandwidth with the new job to focus just solely on content creation, which is very exciting, and I'm very like grateful for that. Because, you know, like working full time and then doing content on top of that is so exhausting. Like, and it's like my new job is part of it is content. And my head, I'm thinking like, oh, this is going to be so much work. But I'm like, oh, but wait, like that's literally part of my job. Like that is, you know, integrated into those 40-hour work week, where that is like, if I want to spend all Thursday just focusing on content, like I can do that. So, you know, for people who want to make content, I say do it, you know, whatever platform you feel comfortable with. I know YouTube's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for me, and I do really well on TikTok, and it's a great algorithm where people will be shown your content because they're interested in technology, and then that connects you with all the people. You know, I know YouTube's a little bit more difficult to kind of get launched on versus TikTok. They bring everybody right to you, even if you have 0 followers, right? So if you make good content, the people will see it and they will come and you will gain followers. And I really do love the platform. It definitely has its problems, don't get me wrong, but you know, as is YouTube. But yeah, I really like the platform. I really recommend people do content, but it can be exhausting. There's this kind of, and maybe you've experienced it too, where it's like you have this launch pad where you're like, wow, like you start making content and then you get all that dopamine rushes and you're really on it for a while, and then that does start to kind of plateau and you reach this like curve where it starts to go down again because you burnt out all of your really great ideas super quick, and now you're like, oh, I have to keep coming up with ideas to put out content, and so that can kind of be exhausting as well.
Oh yeah. I feel, and I've said it many times probably before, like I occasionally feel like a victim of the machine, of the algorithm, and once you grow your audience like you have, and I like to think I have, hopefully, it does sort of like, oh, now you have to make more stuff, and you owe it, quote, to them, which you don't. It's just a matter of, okay, now coming up with the next thing to do and share. Absolutely. Well, you mentioned, hey, now if your new job is coming up, would you be willing to chat a little bit about, hey, your career, your trajectory? That is something I think a lot of the folks listening in like to learn about, to see, okay, how does your storyline match up with mine? What tactical, strategic stuff could I implement where, and where are you going and what are you up to?
Yeah, so this is kind of the first time that I've really been super open about my work outside of content creation.
And again, if you don't want to be totally cool.
No, it's no, I'm ready, right? Because right now I'm quote unquote unemployed, right? I quit my job and then I was like, I need a few weeks to do nothing. Like I was like, I just want to go ride my bike, like do some yoga. I don't know, just do nothing for a little bit and hang out. So basically I went to high school, did really bad. I was never one that was really focused on school. I didn't care about it. It wasn't for me. I always had like a problem with people kind of like dictating what I was going to do. And that's what I felt like school was, where it's just like I was forced to go, I was forced to do these things. And then I went to college and I did so much better because with college there's a lot more flexibility. I picked my major. I picked out what classes I was going to take that semester. And because of that, I did way better. I had a way better attitude about it. So I ended up going to college for computer information systems that had a concentration on networking and information security. And so the college that I went to had a Cisco Academy. And so I did all of the CCNA classes, all of the CCNP classes, Cisco security, wireless, some servers, Linux, all the, like tons and tons of these types of courses, right? And then approximately a year before I was going to graduate. So I was doing ROTC for the Air Force throughout this time while I was in college too. And I wanted to be a cyber operations officer. And so I went to field training. I did all the things. I was going to commission. And then before I commissioned, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And then I was medically separated. And I was like, crap, like, I know how I have to go get a job like now, like that was my plan that I've been planning on for the past like 3 years. And so I started applying to a bunch of places and I ended up getting an offer from Cisco. And so I graduated at 22. And that year, I think it was 2018, I started working as a network engineer at Cisco, which was crazy because at the time I'm like, wow, I took all these Cisco classes and like now I'm here, like I'm at the Cisco, right? And I was just like, this is wild, like to be an engineer at 22 for the largest networking company in the world. I was very like ecstatic. And so Cisco has a program where it's called, they changed the name like right when I had started. So it's Customer Experience Academy, where they basically take new graduates and they put them through like 3 months of training. I had to get like, you're expected to get a CCNA during that time. I got mine within the first 2 weeks. So honestly, the whole time, well, because like I already took all those classes where a lot of other people are coming from like an electrical engineering background. And this was really like the first time they were getting their hands on anything networking related versus me. I was like, this was my entire degree. Like, whatever. So I took it, got it within the first 2 weeks, kind of helped other people take their exam and played like a lot of foosball. So like it's basically what I did for 3 months. And I was like, cool. And then I moved from Raleigh, North Carolina to Texas. I moved to Dallas, Texas. And then there I was on a TAC team, which is the Technical Assistance Center for their servers, which is Cisco Unified Computing Systems. And I basically took cases. So anybody that had a case for UCS, Intersight, or a couple other products, I would be kind of like that last tier of engineer support where it's like, oh, it's not hardware, it's a little bit more complicated. I would take that case and hopefully fix the problem.
Super cool though. I mean, that sounds awesome.
Oh yeah. It was crazy because when I started at Cisco, I had never even heard of UCS. So my, education was mainly on like catalysts, switches, and routers. And I was like, what the heck is UCS? Like I had never heard of it. And then, 3 months later, I'm taking cases for people who had been working on these products for years. And I was like, me? Like I'm supposed to fix the problem? But I did. It was a lot of work, but it was great. And I love the experience and I would definitely do it again and recommend it to other people who are looking to kind of like break into the field, because what better place to start than at Cisco, right? So
there's some really cool nuggets in that I'd like to just play with if that's all right, because you mentioned like,
oh, yeah.
Hey, I did high school and I did college and I thought I had something lined up for me, but it just sort of went another direction. And I don't want to harp on this for too long, but I would just resonate and sympathize. Like, I feel like I probably had the same weird oddball thing. I went to the Coast Guard Academy for my undergrad education, and I thought like, this is the silver spoon. Like, this is my life just handed out in a platter. Like, cool, I can go do this commission thing and be happy. Career locked in and set, 100% guarantee. No, I didn't graduate. Slipped away, got kicked out near the very, very end. It was like, crap, I need to get a job now and go be a normal person. So I feel like it's kind of a similar thing, but it turns out, hey, when you go find that new opportunity and start the career, it's like, man, this feels like it was a blessing in disguise. I'm just elated to have this new opportunity in front of me. Whether, hey, you're rocking it at Cisco, I was kicking around doing some teaching stuff because, again, I did YouTube and security things all on the side. So if I could echo that for folks listening in, yeah, having a little bit of like, hey, preparations and just excitement for what's going to come next, that super duper helps you, because even when there's a hurdle or some hoop thrown in your way, you can pivot and it's even better for you.
Oh yeah. 10,000%. I mean, when I was medically separated, I was like devastated. I really was because I had been working so hard for that commission. And I thought, like, how great would it be to learn cyber than with the Air Force, because they have access to a lot of things that, normal companies on the civilian side don't have access to. And I was really, really devastated. But honestly, and this has happened multiple times in my life where I had worked so hard for something that I really wanted and it ended up not working out. But the thing that came next was so much better than what my original plan was. So zero complaints from me. The way that it worked out was fantastic.
Hell yeah. Gentle reminder, success is not like a straight line from point A to point B. You got all these tips and turns and all the fun stuff in there. So good nugget.
Yeah, exactly.
No, hey, you mentioned cool. Cisco was a great ride, but now you're tacking on something even bigger and better. Is that right? Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. Yeah. So with TikTok, right, I got into security a lot more. And I had security experience from my degree, but I wasn't really doing any security work at Cisco. But I started doing a lot in my own time, like Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, watching a lot of your videos, doing some CTFs, and just learning a lot about different network attacks to make content too, right? So I was like, I'm learning all these things, and then I'm turning around and making content about these things, which, then I'm like, oh, my followers can see the stuff that I'm doing and learn along with me. And so I got really into security because my brain is just constantly I get bored so quick is my problem. And security, what's nice is there's going to be something new every day. Almost, it seems like there's just something new to dive into or look at. And I was like, wow, security is great because there's so much to learn. And on the networking side, for me, it got a little repetitive what I was doing. And there's definitely other areas of networking I could expand into, but I wanted to focus on security. So I talked to John Strand, who I know you've talked to on here before, and he owns Black Hills Information Security. And now I'm going to Black Hills to do security work and content there. And I'm very excited.
I'm excited. I'm like, oh, I'm just ecstatic to hear that. You do those two group. Black Hills is incredible. You're fantastic. It's gonna be fantastic. Putting you two together there. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many. I did have a lot of opportunities. So and you probably experience this as well, once you do get your face out there, a lot of people had contacted me and offered me, not offered me positions, but said, hey, like, would love for you to apply for this, or, different things. And so I had a lot of different opportunities, and I did take a really long time to kind of figure out what move I wanted to make, because I didn't want to just jump to the first opportunity that waved money in my face. Right. I was like, I want to go do something that I want to do for a long period of time, like to really just like enjoy and figure out what exactly I wanted to do. And Black Hills does so much with content and putting out educational, resources for people who are interested in cybersecurity. And I was like, this seems like a perfect match to me, because I was like, I can come and bring that, and I love your ethos and what you're doing. So this is great.
I'm super glad you mentioned their ethos, because that is always what sticks out to me as like some shining beacon of light. It's like John Strand always is doing his pay what you can courses, so it can basically be free education and exceptional training at a comfortable, approachable thing. The webinars that they do, talking about InfoSec news, backdoors and breaches, everything that they do is just phenomenal. And I fanboy over them. Ran into them at ShmooCon just recently. Got to hang out with Jason Blanchard, some of the other great folks there, Deb, and even the Capture the Flag folks, right? I think they're hanging out with Meta CTF, which I know they're trying to do more, but Wild West Hacking Fest and all the other things they do. I could sing the praises of Black Hills InfoSec more and more, and I'm so happy that you're hanging out with them. But
yeah, it's a perfect opportunity. And to be fair, it was really hard for me to leave Cisco because, I graduated, started there. And it's like, once you get kind of comfortable in a spot, it feels like a big risk to leave, because you're like, what if I hate it? You know what I mean? Like, what
Oh
if
yeah.
I absolutely hate it? And, you get comfortable with your work-life balance. And I don't, I was like, this is comfortable, but I knew that it was going to be the best option for me to get uncomfortable because at 26, which is how old I am, I shouldn't really, I feel like at this point in my career, I shouldn't be comfortable. I should be learning. And that's what I love to do anyway. And so when you're uncomfortable, that's when you're learning. And so sometimes you just have to like go through that uncomfortable part and gain that experience. And it eventually, works out and you get your footing and you start to feel good. So I'm very excited, but it's hard to leave a job for sure if you don't hate it, right? If you hate everybody, you're like, okay, bye, whatever. I don't care. See you later. But I didn't hate my job, right? I was just like, this is an opportunity I cannot pass up. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Absolutely another good soundbite. Totally want to emphasize for folks listening in because like I've left jobs. I've left probably 3 jobs in my trajectory career thing. But like you are spot on in that like, okay, cool. I'm in this age range, this age bracket where I can figure things out and I'm not going to have other things weighing down on me. So and I know a lot of folks probably listening in and watching these videos are in that age bracket, age range where like go do stuff, make mistakes, try something new, figure out what you'd like, what you don't like, what can be better and better and better for you. Because what I had seen when I would hip hop from one job to another, it's like I'm finding new things that I love and like more, and that's all good things.
Yeah, exactly. Especially like I don't have kids, I don't have a family, so I'm at the point in my life where you can take those risks without being like, hopefully I can like pay my mortgage and feed my kids. Luckily for me, I don't have to worry about that. So, before I got to that point, I was like, all right, let's make moves, let's learn, let's figure out exactly what I like because like I get bored. So I want to try something new, and security seems like a great fit, especially with already having a strong background in networking and especially kind of a lot of like the admin stuff or servers and VMware, all that. I'm like, okay, I have a lot of these like really solid base skills that will be great and easily transferred to security. So it's gonna be fun. I'm definitely really excited.
Can I ask, are there new things that you are learning to dive in even more so to the security scene? Is there a whole new set of resources for stuff that you're learning or experimenting with? I know you mentioned try hack me, hack the box, etc. Is there others, if I may ask, or I don't know, what else is on your radar?
So I've actually been doing that for a while to kind of like prepare myself because I've known for a long, I would say almost like a year now that security is kind of where I wanted to go. So being active on Twitter is definitely helpful because you see so much new just new exploits or news in general about different security things. We're just kind of keeping up to date and reading. You learn so much about that, even if it's not necessarily hands-on, just being involved. And then, just you're a great resource. The CTFs are a great resource. It was Meta CTF and Black Hills has their cyber range hosted on Meta. And I was going through some of their CTFs, right? And I was doing like 3 or 4 of them. And there was one that was killing me so much. And I was like, so I would like work on that one and then go do another one and gain like a little bit of confidence, right? Because I'm like, all right, I got this like file upload one all by myself. That was great. Then I would watch some of your videos because like maybe you'll use a tool or something that might help me with this specific, CTF. So just doing that and continuously reading and spending time because consistency is key. I know that sounds so cliche, but especially from a networking perspective, I know younger people who are just entering will say, oh my gosh, you have so many certifications, you have all this experience. And it's like, yeah, and it's taken me a while, right? So I like took my first networking class in 2013. So it's almost been 10 years since I started doing networking, which is crazy, right? But you see me and you're not like thinking, oh, she's a veteran in networking, right? But it's consistency. It's every day learning something or just, constantly. And it's you don't have to know everything right now. It just keep adding like those little small things every day, and it adds up. And then all of a sudden you're 10 years later and you're like, holy crap, like look at all this stuff that I learned and did and still don't know.
You mentioned one word there I totally want to track and zoom in on, though. Certifications. I know, hey, you were stockpiling Cisco, CCNA, CCIE, CC, et cetera things, right? Are you going to explore, hey, whatever cybersecurity certifications? Or are you like, hey, maybe not this time around? What are your thoughts? What's the vibe on that?
So, from a content perspective, I probably will explore some certifications just because I like to like look over things, do them, take the exam, and then just talk about how my experience was with it. On TikTok, I did taking the Security Plus exam in 24 hours because I just wanted to see like from just my knowledge that I have right now, uh, what like could I pass this exam? Like how much do I know, right? And I gave myself 24 hours to study, so I didn't just like completely YOLO the $300 for the exam. I was like, this is fair, like pass the exam in 24 hours. And I did, and I was like, okay, cool, like I know way more than I thought I knew, right? Which was great, because sometimes you don't know what's all like in your head, because if you're not using it every day, sometimes it doesn't feel like you know as much as you actually do. I probably will look at some other certifications, but first I didn't want to get comfortable in my role, and then once I'm comfortable in my role, I'll start trying to maybe take on those certifications.
Cool. Yeah. It's I think a question a lot of people ask, and it comes up like all the time, especially when you're weighing like cool ways to break into cybersecurity or the industry that you're really passionate about: education, certifications, war games and networking, et cetera, et cetera. Certifications always come up, and yeah, I think it's a nice thing to help get your foot in the door, but it's optional. It's not like you have to. You could always represent and show yourself in different ways. And maybe that's like, okay, a beginner tier, and you have a mid, in my mind, a medium tier. You found a job that you like, that you love, and you're working there. And in your case, I just want to be really good at my job. I just want to do what is asked of me on a day-to-day basis, and I don't need certifications, but it helps me reinforce and do new things with what I tend to do. And I think, forgive me, I know I'm on a still stupid soapbox, but like when you get to quote unquote senior level, or like, hey, I have way too many freaking certifications. I'm in like the double digits, and it's cringy and weird, but I don't think I need to take any more certifications. But I like to, for exactly the point that you mentioned that I really like, is that like, for the content creation sake, when people ask me and they want to know and they want to learn, like, hey, should I take this? Can I take that? Does it help me in my career trajectory path? I can actually answer them with the actual correct answer of like, yeah, this is what I would have learned, or what I did, etc. So that's, I think, the vibe in my mind. 3 tiers of going after certifications, and it's cool to see you're like in one slot in there, I guess.
Yeah, I personally like certifications, even if people don't actually take the certification, because I know cost can be a barrier for that. Having kind of a roadmap, because if you want to be, for example, a network engineer, how would you really even know where to start if you don't even know anyone who's a network engineer, right? Like, how do you know what to learn or what to look at or what to research, right? And so using the Network Plus exam, for example, you can at least look at what they're testing on and being like, here's all these things that I can go look up and search on the internet and find free resources that can help me learn these things, even if you don't take that exam, right? So for me, what I do personally for exams, and I've talked about this on TikTok, is I take exams that I already have a working background in, right? So ones that I already have experience. So I took my CCNA and I already had a 4-year degree. And then I took the CCNA in data center. And at that point, I was already working on Cisco data center products. So it was really only like 30% of the exam I truly had to study for. And then I went and got that certification and put it on my resume. I was like, hey, at least it's there. It's on my resume. And hopefully maybe that gets me past some HR filters or something. I don't know. I wish I had the right answer for what people need. I can talk about like what worked for me, right? But there's so many ways to get into tech or cybersecurity networking. It's very difficult though, in my opinion, if you don't have a certification or a degree, because they do want to see like, okay, what do you know? Like, what have you done? And to get your foot in the door is a little bit more difficult. But once you're in the door and have working experience, they do become less necessary for you to be able to, you know, move up or change jobs and different things like that.
Sweet. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I know we are probably at a 30-minute mark. Look, is there anything that you would like to chat more about? I've tried to, hey, dig into your mind of what's going on in the content creating world, what's going on for your career, certifications, insights, education, and training, all the good learning. Is there more that we should chat about? Or, hey, how are you feeling? Should we wind this thing down?
Good. No, okay. I have questions for you now.
Yeah, turning the tables.
Is that cool?
Absolutely.
All right. So here's my question, because obviously my path into pen testing is a little bit different than I would say somebody else's path, just because I have done all this content creation, which has made me very visible, which has definitely been helpful. Don't get me wrong. That's been very helpful for my career. But for somebody who wants to get in pen testing, what do you think like the traditional kind of role is or path is to get into that now? Because there are some colleges that offer degrees in that. And then you, of course, you know, there are some certifications, but if you have zero experience, it seems like it is a little bit difficult to kind of get into that role from a traditional way.
Okay. Super good question, and I might have a bad answer because I'm a young dude whippersnapper, just as well. But like, I think, from what I understand, the traditional quote-unquote way to get into security has been through like a weird formulaic cookie-cutter thing where you spend some time at the help desk, you spend some time as like IT support and specialist pulling cables, Ethernet cables, I don't know, then move into like a sysadmin role and then start to like figure out, oh, okay, maybe I've been doing this for so long, I care about more defense stuff because I'm actually protecting the environment that I'm providing for. And then it's like, wait a second, it's actually, there's some interesting stuff going on from that threat actor adversary emulation stuff. I want to go be a pen tester. I want to go be an ethical hacker. And it's like, oh, maybe a long mountain in that weird way. I think that it's what the worldview has been for a long time. And I know if you look on the Twitterverse, there are people screaming and shouting about that. It's a hot take. I think, because I'm a young idiot, I didn't do that. My first job was a teacher. And I was right out of school. And I'm like, WTF, what is this kid doing up on the podium for 8 hours a day teaching military personnel right on how to hack? Because I had learned that stuff from self-study, from a Try Hack Me, from a Hack the Box, from a Sans Holiday Hack Challenge, from a Black Hills InfoSec thing. Because now there's so much information that is available at a free or absolutely approachable and affordable cost. Look, Google will take you there. Certifications and other things that you throw yourself at will get you there and to the point where you can show your merit and show your competency. And I think that's what you did just as well. Content creating. I am a broken record in how I might advocate for folks. Yeah, put yourself out there. Show your work is what I end up saying is like, whether it's a blog post, whether it's an article, whether it's a video, whether it's TikTok. You had mentioned so many people start banging on your door and opportunities are boundless, which is spooky and scary and overwhelming, but so fortunate. And I think one great helpful way. Did that remotely answer your question? I'm sorry. I feel like I went all over the place.
No, I think so. And the reason that I ask is because same thing with networking. So many people ask, you know, how you get there. And aside from certifications and college degrees, it's like, yeah, you can get those things. Even with those things, it can be difficult to land your first job because everybody wants somebody that already has experience. So I really praise the companies that are willing to hire people and train them that are like, at least if they've shown like, hey, I'm very interested in this. And as you said, show your work. Like for me, I don't have a lot of professional security experience, but I made content on security and was able to explain these high level concepts to a lot of people. And, people saw that and they're like, wow, this is great. Right. Because I've never heard somebody explain it that way or, have it make sense like that. So that's great too. And, with networking in the way that technology has gone, the bar of entry seems to keep getting like higher because you need so many more skills. And that definitely becomes a problem for people who are looking to get in. And it becomes a problem for companies who are looking to fill positions. So definitely a good answer. But yeah, it's still kind of a hairy question.
I had a couple friends even today send me some like, here's a job rec, here's like, hey, the requirements or guidelines for what we're looking for in a candidate if you were to apply. Mm-hmm. And it's just as you mentioned, like the absurd, ungodly, like, hey, 12 years of experience in Kubernetes or whatever, completely unrealistic stuff. Or like, hey, you're a student, we still want a decade of experience in like NoSQL, blah, blah, blah. I have always told people, like, use the requirements in a job application as more of like suggestions, as more of like guidelines. Like, look, if you're really passionate about this thing and you want to start the conversation, you can still apply and you can still like have the conversation with folks and the discussion during the interview. Like, this is my skill set. This isn't my skill set yet, but I'm absolutely willing to learn and I want to jump in, and I think this is the best way to do it. So as you mentioned, companies that are willing to train their people, there's so much more value in that. And I don't want anyone on the outside being super duper scared and afraid and thinking, I can't get a job because I don't meet all these requirements. Look, you don't have to. It's a soft requirement. Start the conversation. In my mind, I don't know.
Yeah, when I became a technical lead at Cisco, we were hiring 8 people on my team. And the first thing that I did was completely change the job rec requirements, because I was like, it just was a ridiculous amount of things you needed to know. And I was like, I am more interested in filling knowledge gaps on our team. So it's like, we already know someone or have someone on our team that's really great at AWS. Like, but we don't have anyone on our team that's really great at Kubernetes. So why don't we just like get rid of this AWS requirement and just put Kubernetes down? And it doesn't even have to be a ton of experience. It's just like they're familiar with it. Maybe they've worked on it in a production environment, blah, 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 whatever. So for people who are hiring managers that may be watching this, definitely update those job recs and read them, because I think sometimes they might not even know what's exactly on there that the recruiters are basing their recommendations on. So I always recommend people update those pretty frequently and look at what's on there.
I've tried to have some conversations with recruiters and other videos here on the channel. Some might be able to dig in the archives and find some of those. And it's interesting to see the perspective and what there is in room for growth and room for improvement, etc. But I mean, we got to keep having those conversations without a doubt. So
for sure. Yeah. I think another big issue with people wanting to get into security is the amount of options there are in security. So, and that was one of my problems, was like, okay, what do I want to do? Because incident response sounded very interesting to me, but then everyone in incident response was like, I have no work-life balance. I'm completely burnt out. And I'm like, oh my God.
I know it.
Yeah. I was like, this sounds interesting, because based on my background and working in tech, I had to do so much log analysis, and I was very good at log analysis. And so I was like, yeah, I think IR I'd be good at. But then everyone's like a zombie. And I was like, maybe not. I don't know.
Hey, hearts and hugs and love to our incident responders watching. We love you. We know you put in great work. I resonate and sympathize with you when stuff hits the fan.
They should all ask for a pay raise. But then also there's like detection and response, and then there's obviously red team, blue team. So I mean, there's just like so many different options. Like, do you have recommendations for people who are even just trying to explore those options? Because I wouldn't even really know where to point people.
I don't have a good answer to that question, because ultimately it boils down to like, what is the stuff that you're interested in? What do you like? And that's extremely overwhelming when it's like a fire hose and you have no idea what's what. Yeah, cryptography. Yeah, web applications. Yeah, binary exploitation, memory forensics. Oh, what about the whole artificial intelligence stuff, machine learning? What about the blue team side, red team, etc.? I would say do what you're interested in, do what you like and what you want, as long as you fumble and find the one that eventually is. And then find, ultimately, I think, what is the most fulfilling thing. Like with my current role, I realize sure, I put out a whole lot of videos on like capture the flag and ethical hacking and bug bounty and pen testing and more traditional red team stuff, adverse simulation, pen testing, etc. For my job, it's it puts me more of like a blue team bucket, right? Over at Huntress, we do managed threat detection to do better defense and protection and bolster security. But that is augmented and supplemented well by knowing the offense, knowing how the adversaries work, know the enemy, knowing the tradecraft, all the stuff that hackers are using and pen testers and red teamers are using. So it all bleeds into each other a little bit, but I have bounds more fulfillment in knowing that I made a difference, like protecting a company from an inevitable ransomware attack or whatever, versus me being maybe the pen tester that just blew up Active Directory and then dropped all the database credentials and then, whatever, etc. That stuff's super cool. It's super elite. It's super sexy. It's super Hollywood. I just think it's cool when we make a difference and say like, nah, man, we blocked that. You got to earn your access. You got to earn your 0 days with us.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I think what I would tell people is to get what you can when you're just starting out and then learn as much as you can and pivot into something else because like me doing a career change kind of, right? Going from networking into security, like it's very possible. And me putting out my networking content was able to land me a job in security. And like you said, blog posts too. I mean, there's so many people out there putting out really helpful information. And even if only a few people are seeing it, it's very helpful to a few people. And you never know when you put out a piece of content, like what exactly, like you could just blow up by one piece of content that you put out that you didn't even know would, kind of elicit that response, which I think I remember at one point you had posted on Twitter it was like the YouTube statistics of your followers going up. Yeah. And I was like, that's so crazy because you've been making YouTube videos for so long and been so consistent with it. And now you're in like a really great spot and, have tons of subs and really great people and a great community that you've built. So, that was super inspiring too, because sometimes you put stuff out and you're like, dang, only a few people are seeing this. But hey, like that audience of a few people, like if they were all in a room, I'd probably be like panicking. So,
let me drop some more knowledge things, right? Let me get real talk for those budding content creators that want to jump into space. Like, look, every single video that you make, every single blog post that you write, every single thing, research or project and tool you put out, that's a lottery ticket. Like, cool. One of those is going to just throw you into space in the solar system, right? And when we were talking about, trying stuff, making mistakes, seeing if you'd like something, maybe not, moving to something else, pivot, etc., job, career things, all I think what I heard one individual say, and it's pithy in my mind, so maybe a mentor thing is like, hey, move fast and break stuff. And sure, you could take that in mentality of ethical hacking, pen testing, etc., or you can take it in like the mentality of like your life. Make mistakes, try new things, but just keep trying and keep going. So
yeah. No, that's great advice. Do you remember like what your lottery ticket piece of content was? Did you have one or was it like a smooth upsale?
I think there were a couple. Maybe I guess moments in growth that I remember. I did a collaboration with Live Overflow way back, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Live Overflow, another incredible, fantastic, huge content creator in security space, and that took me from the 10,000 subscriber count to the 20,000 subscriber count, just for like hanging out with him and getting the quick shout out. So network with your friends. I hope you and I are getting a little bit of that effect right now. I remember some of the Try Hack Me stuff really popped off, showcasing some of that. That video is like 2 million views. I wish there were royalties on that thing. Malware analysis seemed to help drive the channel up to like the 200,000 subscriber view. I don't know. Every single thing you put out is an at-bat opportunity. So you just want to be at bat.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree. And put stuff out that, with TikTok, I was like, I don't think anybody's going to care about switch spoofing or VLAN hopping, but those are still some of my best videos that have happened because for me, I was like, oh, I just will make content that's for people that are younger, maybe just getting into it, but people are interested in the deep or more technical things too. And in a 60-second video, it's very difficult, but it's possible. So yeah, that was great.
Awesome.
I think that's all the questions that I have for you. I'm sure I'll think of more though eventually.
Well, thank you. I mean, I super appreciate it. Hey, having more of a cool conversation here. That's what it's all about. Um, any last things I want to give you? Hey, in my mind, Serena, honestly, I've tried to say, like, I hope anyway, that you are, I think, a really, really cool example, and whatever, again, shining light in my mind. That's like, you carved out the TikTok short form content education and in a way that I don't think anyone else has. So I think you're a cool example and role model for that, and absolutely want to sing your praises. What where can people find you? What else are you up to? I think there was a Discord community, or you're hanging out with other creators, other great folks in the scene.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is you can find me on TikTok at She Networks. Twitter, I have been a lot more active on at not She Networks. And then I do have a YouTube channel that currently does not have any videos, but that is changing very, very soon. So if anybody wants to be like an early investor in my YouTube subscribers,
That way.
yeah, right over there. So I have on my Twitter and TikTok and pretty much everywhere else, I have like a beacons link that has all my social media handles and things like that. You can find me on there. But yeah, and of course, I will be making some content for Black Hills Information Security. And I know they have a pretty decent Discord server that they're always posting when they do their like live videos on YouTube and educational content. And then yeah, and then there's also the Sys Engineer Discord server where I run like a little CCNA CCNP study group. So I'm all over the place. So there's a lot of places you can find
Sys
me.
engineers or
Yeah, so Sys Engineer is another creator on TikTok as well, who she's super awesome and she makes just like a lot of really funny, relatable IT content, which is great.
cool. I absolutely want to celebrate that. I love it and happy to see a lot of other creators come together. So without a doubt.
Definitely. Yeah, the TikTok Tech Talk community has exploded over the last year. And it's so crazy thinking about like where it originally came from with like a handful of tech creators to now like a really big thing. And there's people that I come across, I'm like, wow, you have like 300,000 followers. I've never even seen her videos until now. So it's like wild finding new people as well. So yeah, tons of great stuff on TikTok for tech content, surprisingly.
Awesome. Sweet, Serena. This has been fantastic. This has been a real treat. I, for one, learned a lot, and it's been awesome and lovely to hang out and catch up with you. I hope anyone listening in caught some other cool, great insight. But hey, I know we've been rambling for a while. Any last words or?
No, I mean, thank you so much for inviting me on. Love having these conversations and talks, and hopefully it helps other people. And if anyone's going to DEF CON, hopefully I will be there and feel free to come up and say hi or, whatever. I'll hopefully be there.
Sweet. I'll see you there. Hope to see everyone
All
else there
right.
too.
Bye.
Thanks so much, Serena. Take care.
See ya.